stream here on lichess and Twitch. Thank you, Astrobate, for the Garry Kasparov quote. Quote master. What's up, my friends? International Master William Paschall. We are doing our subscriber stream with game analysis tonight. I do this every week. Our attempt to give back to the subscribers, if you will. Give back to you guys for subscribing to the stream. Gather round the woodshed, as the late great Emery Tate would say. You're first. What are you first for? First at what? I've got games from Jim, Princess Chess, Ubatis, Astrobate, Bob, and Antony. Your first viewer. You beat Astrobate as the first viewer here? That's impossible. That's impossible. I don't see you in the chat at all. That's weird. You're talking in chat and you're still not on the list. How is that possible? How is it possible that Repun is in the chat talking to me, and when I click on users in chat, he doesn't even show up? Is that some sort of like stealth command or something? How can you chat in the stream and not be? How can you chat in the stream, Rapunzel, and not be in the user list? That's weird. I guess it could be my Twitch like lagging or something. You must have some kind of stealth mode on. Fake Magnus Carlsen has challenged me to rated 3+2. This is not a day for me playing. I'm lucky I'm more attracted to red buttons than green ones.
No!
Alright, no challenges, guys. We're doing game analysis today. Certainly no rated challenges. I'll play a rated game for a 500-bit donation, if anyone's interested. Alright. Rated games cost money. What's up, Jim? Rated games have a price. Alright, what do we got? So Jim is up first. Princess Chess, Ubatis, Astrobate, Bob, and Antony. And I probably forgot someone. For some reason my chat with Schieberspieler never goes through. You have 10,000 bits? Move 11 just donated 500 bits. Move 11 has the right to challenge to a rated game. We got a gift sub? No. We got now they give gift emotes for 500-bit donation. Thank you, Move 11. Previously we had a 1-bit donation from someone on Sound who was taking the spot there, holding the spot with 1 bit. He wanted to see how long he could hold it. Move 11, thank you. It's been a really slow week as far as support and donations and stuff and subscriptions, so I appreciate it. As I said earlier, rated games cost 500 bits, so the only person that's allowed to play a rated game is Move 11. Tonight is... I'm serious about it, though. If someone really wants to play a rated game, I will play them for 500 bits. Today is game analysis. I called the games out. I might have missed someone, so if I forgot someone, let me know. Pedro and Antony, you're on the list. You're number 6. I got to get back here in the history. There's Princess Chess, Jim, Bob Sacamano, Antony. I'm looking for Jim, actually. Wait, I said Jim. Did I say Jim? I thought I said Jim. There's Jim. Game for Thursday. How could we share games? There's lots of ways. Use your imagination. But the easiest way is to send me the game here in a message on lichess. Just send a direct link to your game. I appreciate it. It's easier when it's a lichess direct link, you know, rather than me having to like take a PGN and put it into the viewer or into analysis mode. All right, we're gonna get started with Jim's game. Let's see what we got here. Guys, reminder, I'm streaming tomorrow morning, and then Saturday we're off. Sunday is dual streams. Sunday is the post-Halloween celebration where we find out if Panda is still alive. Sunday we have a streamer battle at 3 o'clock CET and the simul at 6:30 CET. You go to Sludgy's house and play all the moves on his physical board. How much does that cost? Oh, that's the easiest way to submit a game. The easiest way is send me a message here on lichess. Very simple. Alright. Where is Jim's game? It's been a long day. I'm just trying to wake up here. I had my coffee. It didn't seem to help that much. Early bird. The early bird. I was surprised Jim knows that. Jim donated 500 bits. He also has a right to a... He's purchased a right to a rated game. I'm going to be in trouble soon. I better start like beefing up my rating. Only subscriber is allowed to challenge me today. Or anyone else who donates 500 bits. Add a message to thank Jim for the gift. Thank you, man. K-pop fan. Actually, I saw Lex Weltweese playing poker today. He was talking about K-pop, and I was like, I didn't understand what he was talking about. Now it totally hit me. He's talking about the links here. Alright, so Jim is up. Game for Thursday. Early bird. Thank you, Jim. Before we move on to the rated bullet game. Rated bullet. That'll get it over fast. I can't play bullet. No, it has to be rated blitz. Rated bullet would be... I can't do that. It's like I have 0 bullet games in my account. Even casual ones. I couldn't do that. It's against my principles. I'd be selling my principles. You have to make it the minimum blitz rating. No, I can't do bullet or ultra bullet. So what is this? Jim against Gadakamsky. You had a what? Huge tilt? Oh, in bullet? Alright, so Jim is white against Gada. This has got some pre-analysis from the auto analysis bot or whatever. This is the day you had the epiphany, but you thought you were... What was it again? You thought you were a famous chess player? E4, C5, D4. The epiphany was the Smith-Morrow gambit sucks. But then he forgot what he was thinking. You know I can't condone this, Jim. It goes against my principles like bullet chess. But white might be able to equalize. So Gada takes and Gada play knight f6. And so the lazy man... Early bird special, you've heard of that? Lazy man lobster. Lazy man's lobster is an early bird special on the menu. Gada playing knight f6 now. He's playing a simul, but I mean, if the best way to handle the Smith-Morrow is like transposing to a decent line of the c3 Sicilian for white, then I think we have a problem. Gada's turning like an opening where white can draw at best or equalize at best into something where, you know, white has a normal type of chance for an advantage. This move is necessarily bad. You're turning a trashy gambit into a totally standard opening. I mean, I would never do that. Unless I'm like, you know, tired of playing the normal lines. This is dubious. The computer points it out, of course. You have to accept the Morrow gambit, period. End of story. Knight f6, e5, knight d5. So now white normally plays knight f3. Jim, you're playing cd. I don't like the Alapin, but I respect it, as I said many times. The Alapin, he plays the Alapin a lot. Right, like, he plays against it. I mean, Gata doesn't play the Alapin with white, right? I mean, he played e4. My one game with Gata, he played a normal mainline rouser. I don't think he plays a c3 Sicilian. I mean, he's a great player. He could probably play anything, but as far as I know, Gata normally plays with white, open Sicilians when he does play e4. But your move order is technically like not as good as knight f3. We've seen this before from you, though. You've played this line before. Black should play d6 normally, or e6. Those are the two best moves. Knight c6 is like a transpositional move, but it's interesting because you're playing something here which is a little unusual. I mean, knight f3 is standard, but by playing knight c3, you force him to take or whatever. Isn't this the same exact line you had in the previous game we went over on our stream? Thank you guys for donations. Jim and Move11. They now have the right for rated game challenges at some point. Don't let me forget. Yellow Dragoon. Same exact variation. So, I mean, Gata's move order is inaccurate. I mean, he may be doing it on purpose, but you're supposed to attack the center. Or e6. Right. So, same inaccuracy. A lot of times we're playing quickly and we don't really figure there's a difference here. But knight c3 may have some independent value. And now he takes. Yeah, I mean, this is funny. It looks like e6 is kind of weird, like a Nimzovich or something. It's interesting to see that the Wojo played that in 2002, though. Wojciech, who was like a huge expert in opening theory, I mean, that was his bag. Choosing to play that move. Kojal as well, that's an old game. But the vast majority of players here play knight takes c3. The computer doesn't like it. So that's quite interesting. Okay, so let's run through what would happen if e6. I would assume white would take. Knight takes. Pawn takes. You would not take? What do you say? You just play knight f3? Or you take? Funny that no one took on d5. I would think it would be a candidate move. I guess it doesn't really do that much, though. Take, knight f3. Black's playing d6 anyway. Although, I don't know. Bishop e2. If d5, knight e5. This looks awfully familiar to me. Look at that. White has like 1 point out of 7. White clearly doesn't really have any advantage, though. He's actually falling behind in development. So I guess takes isn't great. So this is a good move. Alright, knight takes c3, b takes c3, d5. Most people would play d6. Right, but I mean, we look at the opening explorer here, and there's a whole bunch of games with f4. Morales, the e5 square. This is a specialty of Sveshnikov. Speciality. I mean, it certainly seems more fun than giving up your center. I would assume like g6 probably. Sveshnikov versus Niksans, 2012. I mean, white center is not to be messed with. I guess Nisans didn't want to get pinned by bishop g4, so he first played bishop d3, bishop g7. It feels almost like an Alyakin's defense or something. One guy even played the Asterbate bishop e3, knight f3, castle, and what does Sveshkov play next? I mean, it seems a pity to give up your white square bishop. This is exactly what happened. We're going to get hit by knight takes d4 check. Whoops. Wait a sec. Why doesn't black have a tactic with that? So he just takes back with a d-pawn? He took with a rook. See the tricks here, guys. Because if you take with the queen, it's like pawn takes, knight takes d4, which is a trick that I know from the Scandinavian. Niksan's was able to just take with the... I'm sorry, Sveshkov was able to take with a rook. That's his little trick. We still have control of d3. He was able to beat the young punk after d takes e5, f takes e5. Wow, he did it anyway? What? Niksan sacrificed a piece for 3 pawns against a veteran grandmaster. White ended up winning the game. Interesting. Anyway, let's get back to Jim's game. So interesting stuff there. You're avoiding, I guess, those lines there with f4. Although white, you could still play f4 here. It looks like Gurgenidze Caro-Kann. What's up, Bob? Thanks for your submission. Welcome, guys, to the stream. Thank you for being subscribers. Thanks for donations from Move11 and Jim, someone on sound, with 1 bit. This is our subscriber stream, so we're going to try to thank you guys for subscribing by analyzing these games in depth. Gadakamsky playing black, played d5. So did you think about taking here? I mean, what's the deal if you take on d6? You just got nothing? It's a Palkovi game from 1993. He's a good Hungarian IM. But it doesn't look very, well, it looks normal, actually. Did my submission play yet? No, nope. Bob, you're toward the end of the list. You're toward the bottom. The buttocks. Your submission is closer to the buttocks of the list at the moment. DK Guy, welcome. The ass end of our games list. So Jim doesn't take, he just plays knight e2. This is a really weird move, man. That's creative. You're like playing the wing. It looks like a wing gambit Sicilian now. Gotta played e6? Really? Blocking in his bishop. Okay, so this is actually... Tell us about this. This is a deep move. I can run your game in the 8 o'clock hour. I think, you know, that would be where it would be, naturally. So, Jim, this is kind of a deep move here. I mean, it's like you're playing the advanced Caro-Kann, and it's very much in keeping with that kind of advanced Caro-Kann. This move is kind of against bishop f5, is it not? Knight e2 playing against that whole, like, getting the bishop outside the pawn chain with bishop f5, knight g3, or bishop g4, f3, etc., etc. I suppose that Gada could try g6 here. If he really doesn't want to play e6. Milodinovich versus Kolesic. The guy just played bishop f5 anyway. That looks strange. You know, what about g6? Do we go postal with like h4? Dropping your ballots in the trash? The new definition of going postal. Seriously, what would you do on g6? Do you just like do knight f4? Kind of keep your options open, maybe? I don't like the knight on g3, like after g6 especially. Knight f4 looks interesting, and h4 looks interesting. So he just plays e6, and you've got what amounts to a French / Caro-Kann advance / wing gambit. It's like a wing gambit where you're not down a pawn. Knight f4, and gotta plays g6. Wow. This is a cool game, man. I'm glad you submitted this. This is original. I bet like a computer would just absolutely rack Kamsky here if he was playing against an engine. But that would probably happen in any position. But I think that white is better. The obviously, main thing that Kamsky's banking on is the queen side, where he's got you at a disadvantage with the backwards C file. And he'll try to hold you on the king side and then slowly make progress. Again, like very similar to French or wing gambit Sicilian. Knight e2 is a cool idea. He's trying to play against it. Wow. Just when we thought it was safe to come out of the water, Jim activates on the queen side. I did not expect a4. I thought you're going to give him the queen side, you're going to go all in on the king side. So you're playing on the other side. This is a positional idea of playing bishop a3. I mean, were you concerned about like queen a5? Actually, how does that work? His knight's on c6. What's the idea with a4? I mean, specifically to play bishop a3? I mean, in some positions, like if he doesn't have his knight on c6. Yeah, his knight is stuck on c6, though. He has to play with knight on c6. He can't do, what I'm trying to say is he can't do queen a5, bishop a4, or queen a5, queen a4. Those type of winnower ideas. Because his knight's already on c6. I don't know. The other plus is that you stop b5. And now suddenly we're back. The computer recommended h4. This is not even under attack yet. And Jim is retreating. But it's an important moment. Like, if Jim plays something like h4, there's no going back. It's like an all or nothing position. It almost seems like Jim is trying to hedge his bets here with knight e2. Like, he could still quietly castle kingside and, like, not necessarily be committed to anything. So he did. He like, just when he looked like he was playing like a psycho, he changed and went back to like very safe kingside development. Just when Kamsky thought he was going to go berserk with h4, h5, he didn't. He played very quietly. Interesting. Oops. Yeah, man. This is cool. It's like you got the initiative of a wing gambit where you're not down a pawn. And so Gata plays bishop g5. It's kind of weird, but it's a simul. He has limited time. In general, this is good for white. He's trading your bad bishop off. And so, how can we break through? In order to break through, we need like g4, and he'll get you with h5. So it looks like a good old-fashioned Mexican standoff. Jim versus Kamsky, 1/2, 1/2. Neither side can break through on their respective sides. One idea, would be... Yeah, I don't know, actually. I have no idea how you can break through. It looks like a Mexican standoff. Gata could walk his king over here, castle queenside manually, and then try to, like, kind of open up the king side or something. Whoa. Yeah, I mean, I never would have even considered it, I don't think. Black hasn't even castled yet, and you're sacking a pawn with F5. That is crazy. Holy God. No, I mean, I just would have been, like, holding. It seems very difficult for either side to make progress here. Flash of Steel. Welcome to the stream. This is Jim's game against Kamsky. So, yeah, as I said, I mean, very hard for either side to do anything. The only concept I came up with was Black putting the king here and then trying to play like a winnower, where he actually opens up the king side. But White has no weaknesses. I don't see how either side can do anything, honestly. It's a Mexican standoff. Until this move. Jim is not happy with the Mexican standoff. He's got... What, you're not going to play knight f4 again for the third time? So G takes f. You've got a knight headed for f6. And if E takes f, his d5 pawn is kind of dodgy. But it looks like you're going to have to play knight f4 again for the 17th time. Yeah. That's kind of messed up. Knight f4, knight e2, knight f4. Obviously all planned in advance. Now you got this. Black has literally two ways of protecting the d5 pawn, And he's worried about e6. He's a top-notch player. So bishop e6 physically stops that very dangerous break. We're going to have to watch out for g5, but presumably that's a problem. No, you're not going to play g4. Thrashing. So now we've got rook h3, rook h3, rook f3, rook h3. Do we have some sort of attacking chances? It seems hard for you to organize an attack. Gata is just like Karpov. Rook c7, rook f3, rook c8. This is awkward. An interesting moment, because normally you would expect king h8. I actually mentioned earlier, of course, the possibility that he could walk his king over to like b8. It seems like logical to play king h8 in this position, but Kamsky chooses to play king f8, going into the center. That seems kind of counterintuitive. Right, I mean h7 is weak. Honestly, I don't know. So the point is, if king g8, you have queen g3, and you're all over him with knight h5. I mean, it's almost like he foresaw that. He had foreseen the fact that you're gonna make him do this, h5. The computer wants to play g5. Clearly our fear is knight h5, though, I think, with Black. He's got to be concerned about knight h5, mostly. There may be some tactic like f4. That seems to be the issue. So he plays h5, and now you sacked a piece unsoundly. Man, you were totally psychopathic. Played like an absolute madman in this game. Nothing to lose, right? Blunder. Bishop takes b5 was best. I mean, bishop to b5 was best. Yeah, I mean, the king is not going to e8. It's just hiding on f8. I don't know what I would do. Your move is extremely natural. Is there a problem with f4? Bishop h5, pawn h5, knight h5, f4. Is that the issue? You've got rook h4 there. You got to admit this is very, very tempting. This is the huge threat, sealing him in. And he plays the natural looking queen g5. Was it f4? As I said, I presume f4, rook h4, but now you're breaking through on c3. That looks extremely scary for black. The threat of knight f6 is... I don't know, man. I guess you have queen g5 now? Does that make sense? I mean, still black looks very much in danger. I guess the king could come in here. King e8 was best according to the engine. Running away. Maybe if Gata was a winnower player, he would have found that. If it was like Kaidanov or someone who typically plays the French with black, I would think the running away to the other side of the board is like a very, very standard thing. But it's almost like he was starting on the plan though with king f8. But Gata doesn't play the French, as far as I know, you know? He might, but not normally. He always plays Sicilian or e4, e5. You have to have a feel for that kind of thing. He plays queen g5, very natural move. Knight f6, and then he's got that square. So at the very least, he looks like he's getting out. I didn't see it. You have perpetual on this queen. Wow. And if king and queen here, what's up with that? What's up with queen h6? Obviously rook h3 is possible, and then queen, presumably queen f8. I mean, no, this is fatal. I think it's fatal. Let's one last look at that. It's gotta be fatal. Yeah. So he has to take the draw. Nice job. You played like a psychopath and still drew. Wow, that was inspiring, man. Nice job. May not be a perfect game, obviously, but still. Peter said you had 25 CPL, both sides. So he has a win. He's winning here. GH5, knight h5, king e8, walking away. I mean, he would find that in a long game. And there's nothing there. Well, that's kind of a standard escape for a winnower king. WJ Loof, welcome. Wow. Thank you for the donation. WJ Loof with 1,000 bits. Yes. Thank you. 25 emote share. Nice, guys. WJ Loof, no game for this week. We still have room if you want to submit one. I don't know how much you've been playing. Pennsylvania. in the house. Queen h4? In which position here? I mean, can we set up a queen trap? My tactic sensor is not going off here. Do we have something with queen a3? That has to be too slow. You have c4? No, d4 is hanging with check. It's queen b1. Ah, I was looking for the a3 square. And I thought about c4 to try to get to b4, but that hangs d4. So this is the move. Wow. Hitting b4 without dropping the d4 pawn. And so, after b6, queen b4 check, king d8, rook g8 check, king c7. I'm getting a little bit nervous. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. I feel like I missed something. Oh no. And check. Check. Very nice. Very nice tactic. Very nice. Good job. Good job. Job. Alright. Even the chess tarantula couldn't play that. Princess chess is up next. Princess chess absent. Scarlet letter. I'm just kidding. Alright, Princess chess. Where is it? Limited amount of games. Yeah, absolutely. WJ, if you want to submit a game, we have time. Thank you for the donation, as always. Great game, Jim. Very cool. Dear Tarantula team members. Game for Thursday analysis. Mr. Coffee, speaking of Pennsylvania. Come on, guys. It's up to you. WJ Live and Mr. Coffee. Keystone State. We're counting on you. It's going to be close. I was thinking the Pennsylvania election may not be decided till like next Friday. Maybe there'll be a civil war by next Friday because of Pennsylvania. Mail-in ballots. For all I know. We'll see. But you'll be on the front lines, Mr. Coffee, of the Civil War. Princess chess versus Terrapin. Open. Hopefully not. Alright. But I was just thinking about you and Double J Loof because I was making jokes about I was making political election jokes about pawns the other day. Because Pennsylvania is more important than states with less electoral votes. I've been calling like central pawns Pennsylvania, and then like flank pawns are Delaware and Rhode Island. The flank pawns are not as important. They only have like a couple of electoral votes. But the central pawns have 15 to 20. So that's the very deep joke. Alright, this is Princess Chess who's not here. Playing a rapid game with white. This is a rapid game? 5 plus 8. Weird time control. E4, G6, D4, Bishop G7, F4. Okay, I don't really like this move. While I like the Austrian attack against the Pierts, um, I had a bad experience when I tried to play this once. I've also seen some other games that gave me reason for not really liking this. So normally it's funny. Chess Smurf just gifted a tier 1 sub. Thank you, Chess Smurf 64. Igara89 got your donation. Chess Smurf 64, thanks very much. Awesome. Emotes. 5 emotes shared. But F4, there was another game a couple years ago that Daniel Dubov lost with white. No, I mean Daniel Dubov. I'm crazy. Alright, let me rephrase this. Daniel Dubov had a game with black where he played d6 here, I think. Is that right? But I think that the move is c5. c5 is particularly good for black in this position. I guess Dubov didn't want to play c5 for some specific reason. Against a weaker player, he lost to some guy in Gibraltar who was like a 2300 because he played d6. But I couldn't understand why would black play d6 here when you can play c5? Because this type of Benoni stuff, it's not that great. White is overextending with like e4 and f4. This variation is not the refutation of the Schmid Benoni. White has played f4. It's a little shaky, I think. It's a good sniper or whatever for black, where white's f4 is probably not really justified. So what ends up happening is like black should choose between d5, d6, and c5. And probably you could play some kind of weird pseudo Aliekin's defense with knight f6 as well. The Brooklyn variation after e5. This is not even ridiculous, is it? You could do some kind of funky thing like that, but no, seriously, c5 is a good move. And I lost really bad to Feugl, I remember. Playing white in this line. Anyways, so I don't recommend it. Whereas, like, against the normal Pierts, I mean, f4 was the main line. Whatever. Okay, f4, c5, best move. Thumbs up. This is what I did against Feugl, too. I played knight f3 as well. I think years ago it was like the early 90s, and I was like a 2275, 2300 player at best. I got the same thing, like a bad dragon with white. It looks like a 11-fish dragon, like some kind of inaccurate bad dragon for white here. So this is bad. Probably the best move is c3 under the circumstances. Berserker, welcome. Thanks again for the donations, guys. c3. We could transpose to a David Norwood modern here with black. He played an awesome game against a friend of mine years ago. Would be transposition here with d6, d takes c5, knight f6. I mean, it was like we were stunned when he played this pawn sack at the time, you know. That's pretty cool. Very little. There's a Mestel game from 1972. But, I mean, Sean Talbot, 1982. So this had been around. It's not Norwood's invention, I guess. But he wrote a book on the modern and played it G3 and G6 exclusively. That's the kind of thing you can walk into. This is also very similar to the C3 Sicilian. Excellent gambit play for black. So it's difficult for white to really know what to do here. Maybe white can maintain the center somehow. I think the game in question was like pawn takes, knight f6. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we can try to bail out with like bishop d3. This is a c3 Sicilian. You know, this is reached by e4. A friend of mine plays this. e4, c5, c3, d6. one of these lines. And you play like knight f6 here, bishop d3, g6. Anyway, let's see what happened in the game. So f4. WJ Luke, good to be here. You've been studying where I solved my first 2100 plus puzzle. Not easy. Okay, so it's a bad dragon, and Princess Chess is playing white, and she usually plays the closed Sicilian, so this is going to be really hard for someone who's not used to the open Sicilian at all. Knight c6, and now white has problems. Queen b6, if bishop e3 looks devastating. So white has to move the knight. Knight takes c6 sucks. So our possibilities include knight b3 and knight f3 and knight e2. Yeah, this sucks. This is the worst of the choices. Knight f3 or knight b3. And I'm sure that black is doing well here. Here, I mean, even a5, a4 type of stuff is possible. I would probably play this. It's funny, after knight b3, there's a David Norwood game from 1990. But I think here, probably the lesser of the evils. Because on b3, that knight can be attacked by the a pawn. No, the exchange isn't forced, Berserker. This is a bad move. This is a bad move. I mean, this helps black's position. He has an excellent game. And white might not be like lost or anything, but I don't like it. It's better to pull the knight back, play bishop d3, castle, something like that. I think that's probably best. You know, you see a lot of people play knight takes c6 all the time, but it's generally almost always a bad move. Take, now c3. This is reasonable under the circumstances. And black has different ways of playing here. Of course, like, you took away bishop a6. The nice thing about c3 is if you played, you know, there are tricks with like queen a5 check. Like, for example, if you play bishop c4, this might be a strong move. Just like trading it off. Bishop a6, queen a5 check. And black's better, probably, with queen takes a6. So no sense in playing that. c3, d5. And I don't know. Black's just better here. Better for black, better development. We're losing our center. I don't know, maybe something like knight f6 is coming next. It's like if you take on d5, Jim, you have nothing. I mean, I can't imagine what to do here. e5 is bad. And it's like a... And the white position is just a big vacuum. All this like open space, just weaknesses everywhere. No pieces developed. Just a hollow shell. So she played this. It's as good as anything, I guess. Kind of Scandinavian with f4. I wish we could just take that move back. If white could play f4, f2 as a move here, maybe that would be a good move. Queen a4, bishop d7. Black's really solid, whoever this is. Not the most exciting move, though. This. We're really overextended. You know, but I could see, you know, somehow white could get knight b3, bishop e3, and get a kind of lockdown on the complex of weak squares. Good move. Knight b3 is awkward. I was heading for c5, but it blocks the queen. So probably this is a good choice. Patching up the king side. f6 now looks really strong. but it's not forced. Not that many people are going to play f6. I'm curious what the computer says. I mean, obviously this is a threat. Queen b6, but it's not devastating. The queen can come back. That's what he did. Oh, you missed queen d4. The computer pointed this out. I also would have played queen c2. But I'm curious if black plays f6. How bad is f6? White has tactics. e6. Nice. Okay, so this is probably good. Queen c2. Awkward. I mean, we would prefer this move, I guess, queen d2. What's wrong with that? I know it looks weird, but it looks weird either way. Either way. Why not queen e2 to keep the f1 bishop free? I guess she has another plan to play h3 and then bishop e3. So maybe this is relevant. Gotta watch for tactics, but it doesn't work. Suddenly, black has a problem with that knight on h6. Black's last move seems funny. I mean, it seems like if black gets pushed back with a knight on h6, then the whole position was misplayed. What about bishop e4 here? Can black free up the f5 square in advance? In other words, like h3, knight h6 coming in here. Thinking it through in advance, what we want to do. Now bishop e3. Maybe g4. But this move seems like a certainty. Let's have this. Yep. Even this could be a problem. Because our b2 pawn is hanging. Maybe you're right about g4. Keeping b2 protected may be a higher priority. And it's... Black needs to do something fast here. f6. With the idea of knight f7. I'm curious what's happening. Again, e6. Is f6 the best move? Possibly. Black just can't like settle in with his knight on h6. He has to do something before it's a problem. Be proactive. That's what I'm trying to say. Black must be proactive. It feels like the castle move was really lazy. Not based on calculation, but just like kind of like lazy general development without thinking. That's a move we could have used. Here now, all of a sudden, there's no tricks with bishop f3. We can play g4. She did it. It's amazing. And like black's position was beautiful, and now it's like ruined. White was clearly in trouble, and all of a sudden now we have this knight devastated on h6. Black hasn't got counterplay against the center. On the verge of disaster. Can there be like an f5? Bishop g2. Now it's like last chance for black to break out. Right. Yeah, the f5 is an idea. Now black has to go. You know, has to be active. Rook b8 looks reasonable. White could castle queenside, but that looks almost crazy. b4 makes sense. It will weaken the base here at c3. I mean, that could that be relevant? c3 pawn? Castle's queenside looks insane. I don't think that can be good. Too dangerous. probably. Though I don't see a way black breaks through immediately. My senses are tingling. This is not a safe place for white to castle in this position. Though I'm not certain there's an immediate breakthrough. It probably won't take too long. So she played b4 and f6. So e6. e6, f5. And this becomes relevant. This point at the base at c3. It's shaped like a tarantula. So white castled, sensible idea. Bishop takes f3. Now it's starting to remind me of Sveshnikov versus Nick Sands. Rook takes. Well, the knight is doomed, so he can't take the pawn on e5. I mean, I don't know. Rook takes seems like a more natural recapture here than bishop takes. That's a good one. Just, how do you know? I left my cam on, Bob? Bob, you're telling me I did a Tubin? I did a Jeffrey Tubin? How do you know about 3 legs? How can you be sure? But seriously, I don't know. Why bishop takes f3? I mean, maybe at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much either way. The moment of truth. Now knight f7. And somebody's pawn is going bye-bye. Well, I mean, obviously white can play e6. And bye-bye is possibly not permanent. White can also play bishop d4. Hey, this is very Nimzovician, actually. She plays bishop d4. She locked down. Where's Morales? One of our viewers, Morales, is this obsession with playing e5, and they're both closed Sicilian players. When a closed Sicilian player locks down on e5. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, the bishop capture might have been interesting because it avoided possible exchanges. I think that both sides played this game okay. White's opening was a disaster, but after that, since that point, both sides have played alright. Knight f4. Invasive Species Act. I'm not really happy about knight f4, kids. But I'm not sure what we can do about it. Could we play like queen e3? I'm very concerned about knight f4. Black didn't do it, but what are we doing on knight f4? This, like, once it gets in there, it's like the Roach Motel. Roaches get in, but they don't get out. We can't get it out. It's there forever. That looks very problematic. But maybe it's not that bad. We can always pull this back. Let's say this happened, and white does like queen d2. Black plays, let's say, g5. You could play like bishop e3. Maybe not. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that guest on f4. If I were black, I would definitely go for it. Instead, he played a5. It's a reasonable move. Yeah, I mean, a5 is also good. Man, this is not going away. He's circling the ae5. But suddenly, there's a problem over here. Whoa. Okay, so the situation seems like it's under control. Like, white is slightly worse. White is slightly overextended. And then black goes postal with h5, which looks a little bit crazy. I mean, it feels like black is better, but maybe not enough to win. But man, h5 looks really, really kind of desperate. But you're limited in what you can do. Yeah, maybe it's not bad. Okay, h5. And then I guess we should take. How bad can it be? Just take. Always take. As Latko says. Simple as that. No big deal, you know? Instead she played this. Uh-oh. Now we're going to need to play h4. Maybe it may just turned into a situation where it's like pawn, 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 pawn. And then it's like pawn, 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 pawn. If we take out your knight takes g2, it's just like black has a good bishop against bad bishop. White has a lot of weaknesses on the white squares, and white is just overextended. And just missed bishop h3. Black saw bishop h3. Has a tactic knight takes d4. Okay. I mean, black has to be better if you just like take the bishop. Knight takes g2, king. The king is like a vacuum here. It's in a vacuum. Even like queen d7. I don't know if that's the best square actually. It reminds me of the time that Princess Chess drew me. She's good with space. I guess rook f4. Now, this may be an issue here. So, knight e6. White looks overextended, but the bishop suddenly has a good square. She did play it. Apparently b5 was a cross tactic. I would have missed it as well. This looks good. That's, I guess, what black should have done right away. Traded knight for bishop. For this bishop. He ended up with the wrong bishop. He got the dark square bishop instead of the white square bishop. Oops. There was a chance of getting mated on g8. Especially if we could trade the rooks off. Queen e8. Yeah, black realized. If you take this pawn, it's like rook f1. Well, what am I talking about? Actually, rook f1 is a nice trap. I guess I would have played it like that if I were princess. I would play rook f1 hoping black would fall for it, right? Like take one of these pawns. This is the better way to do it. Play rook f1, try to get black take one of the pawns, and then surprise, like you're getting mated on g8 and there's no defense. That's got to be a trickier way to play this. She played queen e8, like forcing him to defend with rook f8. Princess must be at work. But now, okay, look at that space. Check it out. Bishop on e6. Look, you have no bishop. Black has the better bishop, but it's not... actually, they're not. Man, what a huge mistake. Going back to this game. Black's knight is mighty, but if you just take this out, imagine the difference. Would you rather play against the white square bishop or that bishop on d4? That's like a pawn. Man, that's like unbelievable. What happened after that? The difference is unbelievable. Opposite colored bishops, but this bishop is shut down. Okay, let's see what happens. So here, white's still alright. And it's a draw. Probably a draw. Nobody has a passed pawn. Computer's calling a big advantage for white here. There's some sort of trick. I don't get it. Queen f1. She missed queen f1. But I mean, there has to be a perpetual, no? Are you kidding me? It's a win for white in the opposite color bishop endgame. Queen f3. Queen f3, king f3. Oh my god. But I don't know if this is a win. I mean, take these pawns out. So he's just paralyzed. So you just like walk over, like taking the pawns, haha. Take this, move the king up, go king d7, and then push your pawn here to d6. Wow. You don't take the pawns with the bishop and let black free themselves with like e6. That's insane. Oh my god. You just don't move the bishop and just take everything with the king. Get a pawn up, then bring the king down, king up here, king into maximum position, and then you push the pawn to d6 and win. That's hard to find if you're not thinking in a fast game. Because I was thinking queen f1, but I mean, if you play queen f1, like, obviously, bishop g7, queen f7, that's nice, but let's just say, like, obviously it's a perpetual check here. You know, you're never going to get away from the queen checks. The only way that white can win is with the queens off the board in the opposite color bishop endgame. But that is such a cool position. Wow. Like, black could check. What about this? Like, maybe it's not that easy. Are you sure this is a win? Let's check with the engine. Yeah, this isn't a win. What does the computer say? Queen f3 was best. Black holds on, not by trading queens, but queen d2 check. Yeah, you can't win. So she didn't miss a win. Unless she could force... Oh, she can force a trade of queens. Whoa, sorry. Of course. Yeah, it's over. So that's very instructive. It's funny because white's a pawn down and paralyzed. Not a position you see every day. So she blundered with queen g1. And it's a draw now. Good game. That was really a fun endgame. I got a message here from WJ Loof. Okay. WJ Loof, you're in. I've got 5 more games. Ubatis is up next. I want to thank everybody for watching and for being part of our award-winning stream. I'm International Master William Paschall. Guys, check out my friends Tranquilizer and Merchicha. We do a streamer battle together, co-streamer battling on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. If you guys want to join us on Sunday, they'll be streaming as well. Our Central European streamer contingent. Anyway, all right. I give myself awards, Bob, being the coolest chess streamer in the world. When in doubt, give yourself an award. So no, we've got Ubatis up next. There it is. Game study. Well deserved, thank you. Game study, wait a second. This is it. Balsa Chesmoso. Is that right? Is this the right game? I'm a little concerned it might be the wrong game. Nah, it's the wrong game. This is the wrong study. I'm in the wrong place. Alright. Let's find this Yabatis game. It was something like Leo. There was a game with Leo. Study, lichess, submission. There it is. I saw it. Submission for Thursday. Okay, so rapid chess against Leo. Winner of the Bartholomew Award for forgetting to turn the webcam off. Rapid chess. Open. Yabatis is black. I think Yabatis is probably at his chess club today. I think he has local chess club in Denmark. Alright, so we got Yabatis with black. He likes to play fun, hyper-modern sort of stuff like the Nimzovich defense. I like his style in the opening. Guys, we're analyzing subscriber games in depth here. Knight of 3 is not that critical. I mean, the only way to test this is by playing d4. 2d for me, Bob. Knight f3, d6, bishop b5. You get those issues, laptop died because when I plugged in the charger, I forgot. I've been getting lag issues real bad. You hurt my head real bad, Wendy. I think you hurt my head real bad. Bishop b5 is fun. This is pure fun. I've played a6 before. I like to get that kind of imbalance with a6, bishop takes c6 check. But obviously, like, black's safest move is probably bishop d7. But then you might as well play like the Steinitz defense. g6, interesting. The young Wojciech Plot, who just played here in Budapest last month. Let me get out of here, and I'll forget the whole damn thing. Just let me out of here. I think I need a doctor. Alright, enough The Shining jokes. g6. Provocative new idea. And Platt here played h3. Well, obviously h3 just like refutes black's whole setup. This guy was playing in a tournament I didn't play in. The one prior to my recent tournament. He didn't fare so hot. Kind of 50% score. It's right up my alley. h3 though hardly looks like a critical task to black setup. Berserker sent a game as well. Alright, we'll see. We have time, we'll do them. So h3, not a big deal. White played instead castles, bishop g7, c3, bishop d7. I really like it when black gives up their white square bishop, especially after playing c3. This is an interesting point. I don't know if Move 11 is still in the audience, but I saw a recent game where he played white in a Berlin declined or whatever. Move 11 had a game with white where he played like d4, e4, d4, c3 and played bishop takes c6 and gave up his white square bishop. It's funny, like, the irony here is that Yabatis plays bishop d7 after white played c3. I would think like white has increased number of like weaknesses in the position on the white squares. So actually, objectively, he has less likelihood of giving up his white square bishop after this move. He needs the white square bishop more after playing c3. So I think Probably Yabatis played this move because he didn't see something else, but it's not necessary to play bishop d7. This is the question. Like, if you play knight f6, I guess this move, but I'm not scared of that, you know. That might be kind of a cool line for black. Maybe even like knight d7. We don't take and give white, you know, a fun game with knight takes e5 or something. Perhaps we can play like hyper modern chess here and do some sort of crazy sacrifice with e6. That's unsound. The Williams variation. Let's see what the engine says after this. What's black's best move? So, give it a little time. And the engine is like, F you. I don't need to play bishop d7. I need to play bishop d7. It can't make up its mind. It's like a6, knight f6. Yeah, I mean, my argument is that like bishop d7 is unnecessary here on a sort of deep positional level. That bishop is happy where it is. It doesn't even need to move. I mean, it's a long explanation about nothing, but I mean, basically, like, whatever. Once white plays c3, he needs his white square bishop. You don't have to fear bishop takes c6 check as a threat, I think. That's the deep idea I'm trying to convey in this position. If he doesn't play c3, you know, he could try to play a structure where he's playing his pawns on white squares, then maybe this exchange on c6 is not so stupid. But I don't fear it after that. Now h3, Vojatak Plat. Now we're going to transpose. You're about to see like this transpose directly into the Steinitz with e5. Boom. There's only 7 games from this position, which is unbelievable, actually. How can there only be 7 games? That's impossible. It looks like rather standard position. That's weird. I mean, surely after d4 we're going to see a lot more. He didn't play d4. Alright, well, I mean, d3, rook e1, d4. That's about it. It's amazing how few good moves white has in such a position. Maybe bishop a4. 1, 2, 3, 4 moves. But a3 looks kind of weird. A6 is okay. Bishop a4 seems okay. You would think after playing a3, he was mostly worried about the b4 square. But if you guys have any input, feel free. It doesn't have to be a lecture. You know, you guys should be more interactive. a6. This is the problem, right? Bishop d3 doesn't work because of the hanging d4 pawn. But maybe some of our gambitier friends would be interested in this. Those nasty Smith-Morra types. I bet like Jim would want to sack 2 pawns for compensation in this position. What do you think, Jim? How's your 2-pawn Danish gambit style play going on here? Interesting question. As usual, like in The Wizard of Oz, you know, all the interesting things that happen are behind the curtain. They're not really in the real game. All the side variations are where the unoccurring side variations where all the interesting lines happen. a6, bishop a4, castles, rook e1, and we got games again. Transposing back some kind of stock position almost. This is a move. I had a game with Turkey Farm, one of our subscribers, maybe like a year ago, where I played a very similar idea of queen e8. But I think I had probably, in a similar position, it's very possible knight was on f6. I don't remember. Queen e8 is a normal idea. You got this threat against the bishop. You're threatening tactics with like knight takes d4, winning a pawn. White will have to pull away with bishop c2. Rook e1, b5. And this slightly weakens black's position. I mean, I often think like b5 on the queen side is something you do when you're like playing the Roy Lopez Zaitsev with your bishop on b7. But I mean, you know, he's got the bishop here to protect this. This is probably okay. Bishop c2 also. But now black has a problem, like, what's the plan? This is a very nasty diagonal. There's knight g5. I guess h6 looks like a good move. Or I should say a normal move in this position. Black's playing it like a Chigorin. Bishop c2. Now, why bishop c2? Bishop b3, knight a5, bishop c2. You know, you would think he would go here. You could have gone to c2 before. Instead, you're going to go to c2 in 2 moves? Doesn't that seem weird? I guess his concern is that he'll have to play b3 at some point to extricate the knight off of c4. Or I should say evict the knight from c4. If you play bishop a2 and you get knight c4 and you have to play b3, then your bishop's going to be obstructed by your own pawn. I don't know. Here seems weird. c5. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a weird position. It's like c4 is a sort of threat, gaining space. White seems to be better in the center. So he just takes here. But this is a major concession. Obviously, you can grab space. This is totally a way to play. But it's going to make it possible that white could have to face h6, f5, or some sort of plan like that. It's a very different game after d5. White can also try to keep the tension. So he plays this, giving up his strong pawn on d4. And I'm starting to like black. This exchange didn't really do anything for white. He doesn't have control of d5. Black has this hole here, space with c4. I don't see what white has. Maybe a very long plan of knight e2, coming into d5, but he's nowhere close. I still think that h6 would be a very useful prophylactic move for black at some point. This is almost like mandatory to play h6 sooner or later. Classic plan here. Nice. And then d3 square. Black just better. Okay, I guess we're going to have to change plans. Damn. I was hoping to go into d3, but it looks like we're back to e6. White is better than I thought. Say what? My name is what? You played what? Rook f1? Okay, obviously white is having trouble coming up with a plan now. This looks kind of problematic. By the way, in similar positions, Ratmir Holmov, who was Soviet Grandmaster, very famous player for the black side of the Roy Lopez. What can happen is black plays like rook d8 and then sets up this knight d4. It's a very typical kind of like maneuver and then sort of pseudo-sacrifice. We'll play rook d8 and then drop a knight on d4 like a nuclear bomb. White will take back, but we'll be attacking the bishop on e3 and then attacking the fork or threatening the fork with d3. Like everything will blow up and then simplify, and black will be better at the end of the day. He doesn't do it though. I would definitely play rook d8, setting this up. The danger here, of course, is that white can like try to wholesale simplify everything. Rook takes, rook d1. Can we do it now? We don't have enough. we wouldn't have enough control of d4 to get the pseudo sack in. But if white is unawares after rook d8, let's say he plays rook e1, we hit him with this, and that's what I'm talking about. Fred the Crusher. Pawn takes, pawn takes. Oh shit. I thought we had enough on it. We still don't have enough on it. Never mind. We still don't have enough control of d4. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Anyway, alright, it's an idea. Queen c7, rook d1, rook f1, stupid move. f5. I'm sorry, Bob. That's why it's light profanity on my streams, not for children. It's not... My content is not created for children. h6. Rook f1. I try to keep it to an absolute minimum. Rook f1, h6. You know, so I remember I'm an adult sometimes. I have to occasionally use profanity to not forget that I'm not a 5-year-old child. This is not Sesame Street, but you know, it's too clean. It's not fun anymore. Rook d8. Any recommendations for a 1400 Blitz player for black against the Roy Lopez? You've been experimenting with Morpheus and the Berlin. Okay, Morpheus line is the standard, right? Any particular style of play you're looking for there, WJ Liv? Because there's a lot of different, you know, possibilities for black. You could play something like more romantic, like Bishop c5 on move 3. Perhaps. Or you could go with f5, like Gambit style, Schliemann, really sharp. You should try to play f5, you know, if you really want to attack. The Schliemann is fully playable and actually a lot of fun. I would recommend trying to learn to play f5 on move 3. There's nothing wrong with it. Anyways, alright, so this is a weird move. I mean, white plays rook f1. I would prefer for black to have played h6, but I guess it doesn't matter that much. f5. Now, this is kind of tricky when you have hanging pawns. But, I mean, white's last move, rook f1, was so absurd. What about pawn takes pawn, knight h5? I mean, do we have an issue here? Do we have an issue with the knight landing on h5, hitting our kind of key bishop on g7? I would be very cautious about that. The possibility of this. I mean, clearly black's starting to win a piece here with f4. If I were white, I don't know, you know, I want the bishop back here. But anyways, knight g5 was chosen. What about this? Position is becoming very sharp with those pawns possibly advancing. But the situation isn't 100% clear. The knight on e6 is unprotected. There could be some tactics for white. This is still a dangerous piece. Just hypothetically, so, I don't know, e4. My mouse is acting real crazy today. For example, e4, bishop c1. Just to prove a point. All the white pieces are in the game. e6 is hanging. With check, we're on your dark squared bishop. I don't think it's that simple. Black looks better because of the advancing hanging pawns, but we have to be careful. I'm curious after knight h5. So, Stockfish is like, wow, it's a game. Stockfish is having a hard time even deciding like which side is better. It was giving me pretty much around equal in this position after knight h5. Very simple. Simple to play. No. Not simple. Knight g5. White just wants to simplify. That is simpler. I guess white forces an exchange of pieces here. Black is very dynamic. These pawns are like battering rams. I like the knight h5 better there. But still, not so easy. If we play f4, knight e4, he's got an ironclad grip on the... What's wrong with me? It's been a long day. Very strong grip on the white squares. Whichever way you push these pawns, they can become weak, and the squares in front of them can become blockaded. Has there been an increase in drawn games on the highest level of chess throughout history? I would imagine so, Bob. I would imagine so. Without any real statistics to draw upon, I would think that that's a safe assumption. Knight g5 just seemed kind of lame. But maybe the pawns, if we keep them fluid, they're strong. But the minute they move forward, they get blockaded. However, he is threatening bishop takes g5 and taking this f5 pawn out. So it looks like e4 is the kind of obvious suggestion. The problem again is that black has to face knight h5, hitting that kind of key piece on g7. And I mean, it would be nice if we could play like 3 moves in a row and play knight g6, knight e5, knight d3, but that's not happening. Obviously, bullet is the future of chess, of course. So guys, don't forget to practice your ultra bullet. You might also qualify for the St. Louis Championship one day. 10 years from now, the St. Louis Ultra Bullet Championship will be the pinnacle of the chess world. So don't forget. Play only 30-second bullet. That's the future of the game. And St. Louis is where it's at. Go Webster University. Whatever. Alright. Wherever that is. No, seriously. The Berserker. I'm taking too long on my games. Man, Bob's not going to get his game in time. We got to move a little faster. Alright, anyway, he plays f4. I'm skeptical about the white squares. Oof. WJ oof. This loses immediately. I was talking about knight e4, but we have a little problem with h7. Like, that could be an issue. I like chess poker. Chess boxing's a little too much, too taxing. I would have to. It would take a lot of training for me to get the chess boxing readiness level. I did karate when I was a little kid, and I'm not a shrinking violet, but I'm not into violence either. And I remember when I was traumatic. It was traumatic for me because they put me into like a competition when I wasn't ready yet. So I was like a 7-year-old kid who just started karate, and I was like immediately thrown into this like competition, and the other kid just started like kicking and punching me in the face, and I just didn't even fight back and started like crying. It was a really, really traumatic experience. Very bad, coaches. I had done karate for probably like a few months, but it was a disaster. So I guess I would be having flashbacks to that. Totally. They threw me into the wolves with this like professional. Alright. But anyway, revealing my inner pain. The first time I ever told that story on the stream. Let's get to where we were here. f5. Pawn f5, pawn f5, knight g5. Knight g5, bishop g5, f4. Weakening the white squares. Bang. He misses it. So this is like a crushing. No defense. Game over, man. Another movie reference. Apocalypse Now. Game over, man. Here, Tiger. Hi, Tiger. Bye, Tiger. This is over, man. After Queen H5. I'm going home. Get me out of here. This is totally... What happened? Knight F5, Knight C5, and then the big fork on E6. But that's pretty obvious, isn't it? Nobody's going to miss that. That big fat fork in the middle of the board. I would have just like played rook E8, but I think that somebody might have been right about F3. That's a heads-up move. It's always satisfying to like kick the crap out of another little kid, right? When you're like a trained karate expert. No, I don't think so. He was probably confused. I just didn't fight back. I was supposed to fight back, and I just froze. I wasn't really crying because he was hurting me. I was crying because I was like traumatized and didn't really know what to do. Anyway, my deepest pain. H6. This is a great move, sacking a pawn to open up the king. I'm inherently anti-violence. I'm inherently a pacifist. It's funny because later in life I've provoked a lot of fights, but never without a reason. That was what was weird about it. Like, I have to fight with someone that I have no problem with. This is a disaster. We're so close, and then bishop e4 shuts everything down. But what about knight takes f3 check? We don't have this? Why can't you play knight takes f3 check? Is he okay here? We have no way to get at the h3 pawn. I think I see something like king h1, bishop takes e4, knight takes, queen c8 with hitting h3. I mean, this looks pretty promising. White would literally have to play king g2, and he's on the verge of disaster. But I guess black is not winning by force here. Close, but no cigar. So bishop takes e4, pawn takes. Again, we're close, but no way to break through. Yeah. It's not enough. Black's only slightly better. And Yabatis played rook f3. There's a little problem called d7. Man, he thought it was over. The wrong piece now. Alright. So knight d7. Rook f7, knight b6. This is a fork. This is a fork. But it's not a threat, actually. But what does black do? It's like amazing. Rook a7 would be a great move, but it just gets picked off. That's so sick. You can't play rook a7. You just take it. Black is so close yet so far away. No way to improve directly. But he misses it. He plays this. And now the good old rook a7 is actually potentially reasonable. Although rook a7, rook d1 may not be that great. You missed rook a7? How could you? So rook a7 is the best move, but I assume like here is still okay for white. He played bishop f8, trying to undermine the rook, but the white king, the black king is not safe here either, and the g file looks rather dangerous. Check. Wow. Close. Where's the win? Rook g4 now. Looks really strong. Probably just ends it. White's just totally winning. Huh? So, queen f3? Queen f3. Game over. If bishop f4, rook takes f4, White is probably winning there. He'll have to grind him down in an endgame maybe. But this was like a whoops. And Yabatis wins by a miracle. He dropped a piece. That's convenient. Story of the game. The lesson is, I don't know. Wait for your opponent to make a mistake and get lucky. Alright. The opening was interesting though. Alright guys, I've been really talkative, telling my inner deep experiences this stream. We're running out of time. We have about an hour left for the stream, so gonna have to move a little faster through the last 4. I've got 5. Asterbait, Bob, Antony, WJ Loof, and Berserker. Berserker's always last. Yeah, the karate didn't work out well. Bob, Asterbait. Asterbait's first. Alright, Asterbait, where are you? Asterbait's games are usually quick. I gotta find his link here. I enjoy analyzing though, you know. This is part of the way to improve. Like, you have to play, obviously. But a lot of people play bullet chess and analyze games by grandmasters. But as Botvinnik said, the most important thing is the analysis of your own games. Games you truly created, you understand. Is this the right one? Oh, in defense. Move 11. Alright, we're going to flip the board. Asterbait is black. Make it a quick one. Asterbait's been playing the Sicilian, guys. I told him to kind of branch out a little bit. We'll see what happens. He played a couple of good Sicilians recently. I was recommending to one of my students, by the way, if you do play against the Owen defense, I like bishop d3 better. Rather than allowing, it's not necessary to allow black to play the pin with bishop bishop d4 pinning the knight on c3. It's kind of like allowing the black to play the winnower in the French. You don't have to allow that. It's easier to not allow it with bishop d3. Knight c3, e6, knight f3, bishop b4. Asterbait has not really played this move order correctly very often. His big problem is that we get to this position usually, bishop d3, knight f6, queen e2, and then he forgets to play d5. Black must play d5 in this key position to get enough control of the center. Instead, White played bishop d2, and then he drops the central pawn. There is no sufficient compensation. Take, take, take. And if this bishop could open its diagonal effectively, you know, White would have compensation. So, like, d5 is worth considering. Black will simply answer with knight f6, and there's not enough there. Maybe White should try it, though, objectively. At least you don't end up with the bishop blocked by its own pawn on d4, like a prison piece. It may be the best thing to do, because this piece is extremely restricted in this position. Bishop e2, knight f6, castles coming back. I don't mind bishop e7. It may look unprovoked, and it is, but eventually that bishop is going to have to retreat. I think that was a mature move. Now White sort of made the same decision about his own bishop. He felt it was going to be misplaced there, pulls it back to d2. Also a reasonable decision. Castle. c3, not great, but decent. Now h6. That's a tough call. My first inclination is to criticize Astrobay for weakening his king side. But frankly, this is a very serious issue. You know, bishop g5 with the pin, the almost unbreakable pin against the knight on f6. You're going to have to be very careful having played h6 around your king here, that white doesn't have strong attacking chances. The other option for you, Astrobate, is to preemptively avoid the pin. Knight e4, maybe better. Supported by f5, sorry, move 11 is saying d6. If in the event of bishop g5, knight on bd7, and then we can eventually move the queen so that it's not pinned. I prefer both of those plans to playing h6. h6 is a purely one-sided idea, one-dimensional idea, where our only purpose is to stop bishop g5. There's no other constructive purpose. The only other things are negatives with this move. It weakens your king side. It makes sacrifices possible on h6. You could say, okay, well, it gives me the h7 square for the knight. All right. But it's basically not that useful of a move and fairly detrimental. So you want to make multi-purpose moves, solve the problem while making a more constructive move. d6, bishop g5, knight on bd7. Or maybe, as I said, this move is not so stupid. Now white plays the London system, something like bishop f4. We can play d6 and then f5. And if we have to pull the knight back, we'll pull it back. Here, I don't like h6. Bishop d3, good move. What about this? Acer didn't do it. He played knight e4. Not a bad move also. But when you're up material, trading pieces is not a bad thing. This is okay. Knight e4, supporting it with f5. I mean, the bishop's in the game, but the rook is shut out. That rook needs to be on e1 for white in order to play this. Absolutely, f5. And it's looking good. You've got knight c6? No. You've got d6, knight d7. He played queen f6. I think I like this better. That's the only issue. Good job. d6. Nimzovich himself. We have the one thing we've got to watch out for now with f3. It would have been better not to have allowed that. You could try queen h4. He did it. I'm not surprised. Because now this is like crazy. White has to be careful. Probably queen e2. Sorry, not queen d2, but queen e2. r2 d2. After queen e2, I'm not really sure. We have a little issue here with the e6 pawn. Black's going to have to be kind of careful. The situation is a bit precarious because f3 is threatened. How are we going to keep this e6 protected? Knight d2, and he just allows the crushing mate. Bang, 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 bang. Game over. All right, that was a nice miniature, but I think you can improve your play, Astrobate. Not to be too harsh. All right, we got Bob and Tony, WJ Loof, and Berserker. Bob is up next. The Bob. Thursday submission for Master Analysis. It was a one of my famous lecture titles from chesslecture.com, where I do have a lot of titles. Spastacular attacking. Spastacular. Boris Spassky. Alright, next game. Bob is up. Guys, please support the stream if you can. Appreciate the donations today. Please subscribe as well. Most of you who are here are subscribed. Tell your friends about the stream. Thursday submission. Here we go. Tarantula. Chess Tarantula versus Bob. No. Terrakeo. Yeah, like we never see Bob submit a game where he's black against e4. That's weird. Usually Bob submits games always where he's white. Is that just my imagination? Is it true, Bob? Usually you're white? I haven't seen too many games. I don't remember ever looking at a game where you were black and a double king pawn. Interesting. I don't recommend this to WJ Loof. Very stodgy. Steinitzian. No, but it's correct. I mean, still, it's very solid for black. Steinitz. Proper Steinitz. d4 is critical. And most often, black plays bishop d7, Bob. Because take, you're on that one. You don't have to surrender the center immediately. Although, truthfully, it's not that bad. White has the alternative here, queen takes. Which I kind of prefer. I used to not like this that much, but I think I'd probably choose queen takes. You're giving him an extra option, in other words. I've never seen anybody play knight takes c6 in this position. That's a new one for me. Which raises an interesting question. How should black recapture? I mean, this move goes against principles. It's like when was it Princess Chess who exchanged? Did she exchange on c6? Same kind of thing. I mean, when you exchange on c6, you're giving black pawn takes and control of d5. Bringing that pawn to the center. I mean, the double pawns aren't that bad. And you give black control of the d5 square. It's also possible for black to play bishop takes, pawn takes, trade a set of pieces in a situation where black has less space, and maintain good control over the key square d5. That's a very important square in e4, e5 openings, and also in Sicilian, particularly. Games where white has the strong pawn on e4. The d5 square is usually very vital. Also, you've got a dark square pawn chain base, and you've got to make sure the d5 square is not an issue. Losing d5 is very bad for black. So black is guaranteed to have good control of d5. Knight takes c6, not a good move. I don't know which way is better. I think both recaptures are possible here. This is sharper. You're gaining a tempo, but you're not trading pieces. White can redeploy with like bishop c4. This is the safer move. Bishop takes c6. Let's say. This is more ambitious and sharp. Now bishop c4. Training the bishop on f7. And now we have an interesting game. Faroe Islands. Black played g6 here. G6 may be playable. It's like a scotch now. I mean, black has to be aware of like bishop e7, queen f3, I guess. I don't think this is a problem though. There's several different ways to play this. Even something like queen f6 is interesting. Again, a scotch type of plan. It does look risky though. So my first choice is knight f6. Attacking the central pawn. Just getting out of there with like bishop e7. Silas Lund here played g6. It looks a little slow. If white could play e5 or something, we could be in trouble. That does seem a tiny bit dangerous. Magnus would play bishop takes c6. Yeah, it's safer. Anytime you're making less pawn moves, you're creating less weaknesses. trading pieces. Knight f6 is normal. You know, I'll bet you that the engine agrees with knight f6. Damn it. I had to go out on a limb and say the engine agreed with knight f6, but it likes g6. Putting the bishop on the g7 diagonal. You never know, though, how it will shake out in another move. Knight f6. Now it says that white is better by 0.4. When you make it play g6, now it says white is better by 0.6. So you really have to kind of like let the computer run for quite a while in order to evaluate opening positions. Now it's dropped down. Queen f3. Knight f6 is more compact, safer. Knight c3, and then this move was a surprise. I mean, I think you ought to get out of there. Bishop e7. But apparently even g6 is possible now. 13 viewers here, 2 are Bob. That's cool. Everybody should have at least 2 viewers here. Come on, I mean, I don't use bots. And the St. Louis Rapid Championship is going on. That's extremely important. Give me a break. There must be like a Hyper Bullet tournament and the St. Louis Rapid going on at the same time. Very important stuff. Instead of really analyzing chess. HTFP, welcome. So I'm surprised, Bob. You're losing a little bit of time here, moving the same piece twice. It's not very efficient. I think you ought to get out of there with bishop e7. It looks like a Lasker Steinitz or some kind of Lasker Schlechter World Championship match game, honestly. White has more space, but black is very, very solid here. James is in the house. I mean, bishop e7 is predictable, but what can you do, man? It's like the most solid passive opening in the world. There's not that many options you have here. Bishop e6 loses time. White could play maybe bishop e3, alternatively. He takes. Watch out for this pawn sack. You know, that's a kind of deeper conceivable move. I wouldn't want to allow that, honestly. I'm a little freaked out by the structure. Black will have to play with a lot of precision with the 5 Isolani here, not to have a problem in the long term. I don't think you can take on e5, but this is a big problem. Check here, the e6 pawn. There's nothing wrong with knight d5 itself, HTFP, but it's the other consequences of the position that I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about our king. I'm concerned about the e6 pawn. This itself is probably the best move, I guess. But I'm not liking this. And the fact that my king is still in the center of the board. Bob is wrong to play bishop e6. And e5 is a brilliant move. Computer came up with this. Wow. It's interesting that that's stronger than knight d5. But again, I'm not sure that black is out of the woods here. I wouldn't play bishop e6. You got to get your king out of the center. I would be immediatamente getting out of there. Okay. So bishop e6, take. Luckily, castles. And again, I'm thinking about those matches where Steinitz and Lasker used to play like this. Schlechter. Steinitz was a master of defense. He sort of got out of some really nasty situations similar to this, but I'm pretty concerned about black's position. He did some Houdinis from some ugly looking positions where like Lasker had a huge advantage. But I mean, this threat just keeps hovering over the position like the sword of Damocles. It's going to wreck our whole pawn structure. Seriously. Still, it's very strong. I would play that in a heartbeat for white. It fixes the weakness on e6, devastates your pawn structure. On the other hand, it's not forced. This move is it's a horror show. The worst move on the board. How many times have I told Astrobate not to do this? It's funny because in the aforementioned matches that I'm talking about, like Schlechter and Lasker, there was a number of games where a similar Bishop G5 was played. It's like people think like playing the most active looking move is the best move. This move is actually like one of White's worst moves, probably, in the position. The last thing you want to do here with White is like trade off Black's worst piece, the bad bishop on e7. Bishop G5, knight d7. It's a disaster. If we can trade that off, Black might be completely okay. White plays this, he's better. If he just plays some kind of neutral move like queen e2, he's better. He has threats of queen c4. If you play e5, you're like a nuclear meltdown. This is probably what would happen, something like this. And you're groveling for a draw in a very, very, very unpleasant position where you can't castle on this diagonal. Like in the aforementioned position, queen h5 check is no good. Obviously, like bishop g5, knight d7, queen h5 check, g6. And then White has just got nothing. That's a solid position for Black, actually. Here. Maybe queen h6, but I don't think that White really has much. So this is such a typical mistake by White. Bishop g5. Castles, and you give him another chance to play e5. Surprised to see Bob make a positional mistake like this. Now f4. Maybe that's not so bad. And Black played d5. Okay. Putting your pawns on the right color. That's a good move. So we get this kind of French-like position. Interesting. Not quite sure what's happening. Queen g4, wow. That's a neat idea. Because he hits here, he's going to win the pawn with check, then this is going to melt down, then d5 is going to fall, and Black has no way to protect e6. Wow, there's like this amazing computer like check here and queen e8. It's a magic trick, so you can protect your e6 pawn. Bob just took on g5, which is a natural thing to do. That's the only way you can protect the e6 pawn, and it's like the base of your pawn structure. Your whole pawn structure just falls apart, and then White's winning, or better. Natural, but unfortunately, here we have a problem. It looks like knight is hanging, so we can't take on g5. So Bob couldn't find anything better than this. And obviously you're losing this one. And then these are weak. And so White is just clearly winning. Yeah, that's weird. So the d5 pawn is hanging. White's going to just be better after queen d5. Clear pawn up with a better structure after queen takes g5. Queen's defended. Black has a worse structure and he's a pawn down. Stand up count. You're welcome. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, guys. Very few people are interested in serious chess analysis, but I try to give my all to this. There's a lot of pulp chess streaming. But you can learn a lot by watching me, because I take it seriously. Knight takes e5, queen c5 doesn't make sense. We just could have won a pawn. Bob defends his base. Bob, you're appealing to the base again? Just like you, populist. Appealing to his base. It's hard to keep thinking of political jokes now, coming close to November. That's an interesting move, keeping the base together. Rook f2, queen g5, and Bob's out of the water. Bad jokes, man. Keep it political, no sex. Rook f1. And you're making fun of Borat. Unbelievable. He'd be right up your alley. Politics and sex. Alright, so we've got this situation where Bob's managed to keep everything under control. White's advantage is evaporated. The pawn on d5 is actually keeping White's knight at bay. But I can't imagine Black like winning here. Maybe this pawn? Or maybe you can try like rook e6 and lift your rook to start some kind of attack. Like theoretically, if you could play rook e6, rook g6, you could threaten something against his king. Obviously knight g4. Well, I'm just joking. Bob hated the new Borat movie, or he was making fun of it, but I liked it. Knight e2, we have a difference of opinion. Knight g4, rook f8, rook f8, rook f8, rook f8, queen f8, king h7. And so let's see what's happening here. After everything's said and done, I think he just says that to hurt my feelings. Like, he knows that I like something, so he automatically has to take the opposite side. That's his joy in life. Maybe he's not sincerely. No, it doesn't hurt my feelings, Bob. It hurts my feelings when I feel like you're doing it just to spite me. Normally it wouldn't hurt my feelings if you had your own independent opinion. But my paranoid nature makes me think that everything you do in order to spite me. So, alright, final position here. We got White a little overextended. The queen and knight are very active. Yeah, someone pointed out the rook f8. Rook f8 is not so great. Rook f8 gives me chocolate cake. Bill Cosby's just not popular these days. Can't imagine why. But rook f8. What do you want White to play here? I mean, he's like facing serious threats. He had rook f5 maybe? What does that even do? What is White supposed to play instead of rook f8? Like, the knight is hanging. You're threatening knight takes f2. Rook f5, queen h4 looks even worse. You can play rook f5 and then rook f8, but I'm not sure what that does. I mean, I guess Black, maybe you meant Black's rook f8? Black doesn't have to play rook f8. Black could just play like king h7. That's an interesting point. Black is not obliged to play rook takes f8 either. That's what the computer didn't like. Okay. Well, I mean, in the heat of battle, with 5 minutes left, it seems like no obvious threat. It's some sort of deep calculation by the computer. I don't see an obvious reason why king h7 is so important. It's not even really apparent that Black has an obvious threat in this position, because like rook takes e2, rook takes a8. There may be some sort of deep tactic. Yeah, rook takes e2. So you're threatening to gang up with like rook e2, rook a8, and knight e3 with irresistible mating attack and stuff. That's subtle though. I mean, it's not easy to see that. So you got to a position where it's probably equal, but it's more equal than others. Black is more equal here than white. Because it looks like your king is safer. You've got queen e2, you've got queen e3. His knight is unprotected. Your d5 pawn is kind of influential. White is on the verge of falling apart. This is a great move. Threatening mate in 1. And strong mating attack for black. Queen and knight combination. Where's the mate? I don't see an immediate mate. We have queen e1 check, king g2, but I still don't see the mate. If the king gets out to g4, I still don't see a mate. I would probably like freeze up and panic and mess up here if this was like a blitz game. It just doesn't seem like I see an obvious win. Nico Petrillo, welcome. Thanks for joining us. So, small but devoted group of players here analyzing some games. Subscribers for my stream. This is apparently winning for black, but I don't see the immediate win. Queen e1 check. The problem is the king can creep up to like g2, h3, or even f3 in some variations where it will attack the knight. I would probably freak out and mess this up. Okay, queen e1 check, king g2, queen f2 check, king h3, and that's the problem now. Queen h2 check, the king gets out on g4. There doesn't seem to be a way to mate him. And black will have to deal with queen f5 checks. Let's see what Bob did. Queen e3 check. Okay. It's just as good as queen e1. He can't go to f1 because of mate. So that's good. King g2. But here we have to find a win. Yeah, in the heat of battle, I would have missed it. This is amazing play by Bob, though. Bob had a minute left. And he had to kind of... I would have missed this. He had the presence of mind to play queen d2 check. The point is, like, after queen d2 check, king f3, knight e5 is mate. I mean, for that matter, like, knight h2 is mate as well. So you by playing this cool move, queen d2, which I missed, you're eliminating the move up king f3. But white still has king h3, obviously. Man, so there's a mate with knight f2 and g5. Brutal, Bob. And you did this with like 46 seconds left. You found knight f2 check. That is the best move. Is there a better move here? I don't know if I would have found it in the heat of battle. Bob's not known for his tactical precision. I would have found it if I had enough time, but I think with a minute left I would have panicked. I'm kind of tired tonight. I couldn't do tactics puzzles. Get me in the morning. Man, I was looking for something else. Knight e3. With knight e3 we have no threat. That's the problem there. It's nice, but we have no threat. We would need to get in queen f1. So knight f2 check. Now he has to play king g2, only move. He walked into g5 mate. Still not mate, I should say. King h5, queen d1, and then that's it. But what happens if he plays king g2? Where's the sequence? Are we mating here? King g2, knight e4. That's not so easy either. if h3, man, it looks hard. I would totally have lost on time or messed it up. I probably would have started grabbing pawns and trying to reach like a materially winning position here. I didn't see the mate. Some people are like steel traps when it comes to playing for mate, but I'm not sure. I mean, there's no time for wasting time here. Here, knight g5, king g4, and the king's getting out on f5 in this line. I mean, there's even some really weird positions like this. My mouse has been crazy today. Queen, what the heck is going on? Maybe my mouse battery is dying? Queen d1, king h4. Like that I just like lose on time. I still don't see a mate. And king f5, there's still no immediate win. It's kind of mind-boggling. Bob was lucky that he didn't play king g2, because this is pretty clear. Like, once you see king h4, it's over. This is obvious. Alright. Anyway, guys, not that much time left. I got 3 games left. Please donate. Support my new mouse battery. My mouse is acting screwy. It's like flinging the cursor all over the place. Time for a new one. Anyone have a mouse recommendation? Eventually I'm going to buy a new mouse. Not happy with the one I have. And Tony is up next. That's original. Cornering the mouse market. Alright, and Tony. Submission for tonight's game analysis. A miniature but a really instructive one. Among other things, I'd like to have your opinion on the position obtained after bishop e5 check, bishop d7. Open. I have bought some lower end Logitechs that suck. You have to buy, the one I have is like lower middle class mouse. Alright, so Antoni's white against the Grunfeld. Berserker's a Grunfeld fan? Okay, so this is what I used to play back in the day when it first became popular in the early 90s. This variation has been around since the late 80s. Back in the mid 80s, there was the big World Championship match between Kasparov and Karpov, where this variation hadn't really trended in yet. Kasparov and Karpov in their mid 80s World Championship match, it was the bishop c4 Grunfeld. This variation started in like 88, 89. I didn't start playing it till like 1990. Then I eventually gave it up because it's like too theoretical, but it's gone out of fashion again. It's come in and out of fashion. Very fashionable until, I don't know, the early 2000s. And then eventually it got so overanalyzed, people stopped playing it to some degree. It's not trendy nowadays. Too many good systems have been developed for black. So the main lines, castles, obviously. You've got a castle here. One move only. After castles, bishop e2. That's it. But your opponent played knight c6. So, if d5, bishop takes c3 check, bishop d2, bishop takes d2, queen d2. I had a game like this at the Boylston Chess Club against the 1900 in the 90s. And I remember beating him, but it wasn't so easy. It was like d5, bishop c3, bishop d2, take, knight d4. Knight takes d4, pawn d4. And I can't remember, because I'm confusing now with some games I had subsequently here online. it was either queen takes d4 castles or bishop e5 check, bishop d7, queen takes d4. It occurs to me there's another way white could play. Before we go in to see what happened here, is it possible to play d5, bishop takes c3, bishop d2, takes, queen takes, knight d4, knight d4, cd4, bishop b5 check, bishop d7, queen h6, or bishop d7, bishop d7 check, queen d7, queen h6. So I'm saying not take the pawn on d4 and just paralyze the black king from being able to castle. I had some awful game in the New York Open against the amateur player where they did something like this and they played like knight a5 and it was like a crucifixion, you know. It just, there was a Severany game. He didn't beat Paschall. Wow. Maybe that was like a friendly draw or something. This is not good. Black is toast in this position. It's a little strange, actually. Severany always plays like bishop g5 against the Grunfeld. That actually looks suspicious. I think that's like some kind of grandmaster draw. That's not a real game. Pally wouldn't play this for black. He knows chess too well. He's a strong player. That's a fake game. Anyway, revealing the secrets of master chess. I can spot fake games a million miles away. Knight b8 is bad too. So this is the question. Knight d4, pawn d4. Now, do we take? We can't allow queen a5 check. So do we take? We play bishop e5 check here. Now, queen a5 check is a problem. We have to take and then play queen h6. This is my first question. Goffstein lost with this. Wow. Grandmaster losing with the white pieces after f5. Yikes. That is seriously upsetting. He lost to a 2200. Queen g7, castles queenside. Man, I mean, if this is good for black, it would seriously be a good secret weapon. If black can get away with that, that's a major problem. A very decent grandmaster losing, like, with white in a normal position. What's the evaluation there? Borderline. Queen d4. King b8 and black is only okay. So Goffstein had to overpress to lose the game later. But still, I'm not convinced that this is white's best continuation. I played like queen takes d4 and ground the guy down in the chess club many years ago. But it's fairly simplified, and I don't think that white is necessarily winning here. The other possibility is simply queen takes d4, allowing queen a5 check, and then playing this ending with like queen e2, king d2, Rubinstein-esque king e3, and bishop c4. But man, I mean, I don't know. It's not that easy. Like Leko, it would be hard to beat Leko, let's say, in this position with white. Anyway, interesting question. Your game was actually bishop d2, queen d2, knight b8. Yeah, I mean, black can't do knight b8. It's over. This is the only move here. Anything else is over. Knight a5, knight b8. Black's too passive. This is the whole point. This guy's a pretty good player, Kofkan. De La Villa Garcia actually played this, but I mean, that's back when Iteration. I know both these guys. De La Cruz, he was like running a pub in Madrid. That was a cool place to hang out. He had an Irish pub in Madrid. I used to go in there and play Blitz. Knight takes d4, cd4, and then queen d4. Anyways, knight b8 is game. All right, so now we gotta kill him, and then Queen H6 is possible, allowing Queen A5 check and defending with Knight D2. The other way to go here looks like maybe H4, trying to kill Black with like H4 H5 very quickly. I mean, this is probably not a bad move, actually. And Tony realized that, like, maybe we let him castle and then try to kill him. Interesting approach. Yeah, I mean, this may be too quiet, man. I think you played a little quietly here. I would definitely advocate going for the throat with H4. You should try. I told you I had a game in New York Open with similar position. The attack is very strong here. Maybe Black's like clearly worse. But I think this is a bit too quiet. You have compensation for the pawn. Now he just gives you his B7 pawn. I mean, I admit this is a hard position for Black to play. Well, the important thing is Bishop G4. He wants to try to take out one of White's pieces. But it looks like it's too slow. I mean, you just can't give White the pawn on B7. Then it's like he's not down a pawn, and Black's pawn structure sucks. So Black has to play like B6 first, attempting to play that maybe next move. Now the problem is, what happens if Queen H6, threatening Knight G5, you have to play F6. And it's hit or miss. I mean, maybe White's got a strong attack, but it's not that easy, and there's not that many pieces left on the board. The engine's talking about lateral rook stuff. There's like Knight H4, threatening sacks here on G6. But I don't think it's that simple, you know? It's an interesting question. So he played this, but you just snapped the pawn. And now, I mean, you're just better. In the normal-ish position, you're not down a pawn anymore with a better structure. So you just play good chess, and you should be winning. I mean, the pawns are really weak, and you play for your standard sort of central pawn. Little issue with the rook there. Better play Queen A5. Yeah, A7 needs to go. Otherwise, our rook is getting trapped. Whoops, I missed that too. Oh, I guess that's not the best move. Yeah. In any case, Black had a very difficult position. Your move is a blunder. Queen A5 is a blunder. Because it's not the best. There's a better move here. You have Knight E5. That's oof. As well. Oof. According to Mr. Coffee. This is oof here on C6 and E7, I guess. Black was trying to trap the rook, but this move is so invasive. On like Bishop E2, you can play Knight to C6. Yeah, that's... It's terrible. Unfortunately, Queen C8 is Knight E7 check, and you lose your queen. It's all over. Yeah, so he had even better. Bishop C8, you're just winning all the pawns. Then you win a piece, and it's over. Okay, good game. But, you know, there's some questions about that. That could be used as some kind of freaky way for Black to play for a draw. If Black is more precise in those lines with Knight D4, it could be an odd way for Black to try to play that and have some chances to hold a draw against a decent player. But the Grunfeld is not normally played for a draw. Okay, guys, I'm running out of time and energy. We've got 2 games left, WJ Loof and Berserker. WJ Loof. That's what Jesse Christ says. He tried to do that against me, ironically. That was his whole game. It was a hedgehog. He was obsessed with playing Knight C6. I think he even got it. But he didn't win. All talk and no action. He got his Knight to C6 in the hedgehog, but I managed to defend. Alright. WJ Loof versus Mo CF7. Guys, thanks for supporting the stream and donations today. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not a subscriber or if you're new to the stream. We've got WJ Loof. It's easier to say WG Loof for some reason. WJ Loof 1426. I'm not a huge fan of you know, kind of like mechanic sort of setups like this. You probably don't know theory on the modern defense. I mean, it's kind of the same as the Owens. I think that in principle we want to play and establish that pawn duo principally. Black is giving us something good, and the plan is to take the central ideal pawn center and hold on to it. Same thing on the modern. You know, I feel like knight f3 is inaccurate. You shouldn't give black a second chance to play c5. Anyways, all right, running out of gas here. Bishop g7. Still, you should play d4. I sound like a broken record, but it's true. You know, now he can play like a reasonable Sicilian after c5. Bishop c4, d6. Okay, castle, d4. All right, good. You played it. Okay, this is a problem. This is a blunder. Black cannot play e5 here. Black's supposed to play something like knight f6. And then the problem is the piece force. If knight c3, you have to watch out for these type of things. I'm not sure black's supposed to play it right away, but I think after castles, knight takes e4, black is doing all right. So you have to play maybe queen e2, I guess. Queen e2 immediately here. That's probably your best setup. To avert like knight takes e4 by playing queen takes e4, and there's no piece forks with d5. The best version of that, though, I think, is with the knight on g1 and then on c3. Anyways, e5 is a blunder. Takes, you're on f7. He can't take back. You have bishop takes f7, check. So the best for black now is to play some sort of pawn sack. He does bishop g4. And you're good. You're good here. Just take on d6, I guess. This is also good. h3 is also good. On f7. Now black has to defend. Queen e7. So he's down a pawn, and his pawn structure is destroyed. Black is just dead. Maybe he could try knight h6, but then you have... No, I'm losing my mind. Yeah, he's dead. He's dead. He's dead on f7. So bishop g4 compounded his problems. You know, he's losing a pawn here he can't recapture due to, like, bishop takes... I'm sorry, my mouse again is acting really crazy. Due to bishop f7 check. I think that this move makes the situation worse. You know, bishop g4. Giving up that valuable bishop for a knight unnecessarily. h3 was good. Take here. Now you take. He can't take with the queen. His structure gets shattered. So now you're a pawn up, plus you have a better pawn structure. Castles. Your king is safe. Excellent. Knight f6. Bishop g5. Knights before bishops. I like this move better. Knights before bishops. Control of d5. This piece is a strong piece. I don't want to give this up under any circumstances. If you play bishop g5 and he provokes you something like h6, I don't want to be trading this here. We're losing a chunk of our advantage. So I think this is a much safer move. But he just gets greedy and grabs the pawn. Maybe he could get away with it. Wow. Whoa, wait a minute now. There are some complications here. If bishop f6, queen f3, rook e1 check, king d7, bishop b5 check, king c7. There's nothing special. Yeah, I don't see anything clear. Again, you know, it would have been simpler to just play knight c3. All right. Bishop g5, he takes the pawn. You're definitely, like, clearly better, though. Still. The problem is queen e4, knight e4, rook e1, bishop takes b2. I mean, maybe this is winning for you, but you're losing the rook on a1, and I don't see anything really concrete. There might be something that I'm missing. But it looks like you're going to have to content yourself with like a very small advantage here. You played queen e4, but maybe it's best to play like knight d2 and then go into this ending where you're just slightly better here, for example. I guess this is a problem as well. No, now you have rook e1. Yeah, I mean, something subtle like this, you're just slightly better in an ending. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing a tactic for you. Queen b3 is interesting, but he just castles away. And I still don't know. You're better. You're much better. Nothing clear that I can see. But here I'm concerned. Black has interesting move now. Castle. Wow. I'm not sure about bishop takes b2, you know? What's the evaluation here with the computer? Winning for white, apparently. Wow. Rook takes, check, king d7. Apparently you're winning. I was looking at bishop b5 check, but this is a major mistake. So if we go further, that's extremely deep, though. Rook e7, that's beyond, you know, average calculation for most people, including myself. So he's smart to castle. This is the best move. You could play bishop c1. It's ugly, but that's all you've got. You've got to just admit your mistake, and you're better structurally. Then you play c3 and you crawl out. So this amounted to a sacrifice of the exchange. What you don't want to do now is maybe trade. I don't know. Knight d2. I guess it's not enough. You had to do this here. So what's going on? Bishop a1, bishop f8, king f8. You're pawn down in a opposite-colored bishop and rook endgame, and knights. White's fighting for a draw down a pawn with a worse structure. That's the best you can do. Here, bishop h6, rook c8, and now bishop d5. That's extremely hard to find. Rook e7. And now if bishop takes rook, obviously it's back rank mate if you play rook takes c4. That's easy to see. But the question is what happens after this? Like rook takes f7. Threatening rook f8 mate. Man, it doesn't look like black has a defense. Dude, that's just devastating. So you miss this, which isn't easy to see. Rook e7, you have to find that really hard move. And then made this natural looking move. Why is black not taking this? You're going to take on b7, but that's only an exchange. Now knight d7, no big deal. You know, he just gets that back here. Take, take. Black is better. Maybe not that much, though. Is knight c6 the best move according to the computer? Okay, the game is bishop d5, knight c6. Wow, that is the best move. He doesn't give anything back. He gets your rook on a1. Yeah, I'm getting asleep here. So he just wins the rook on a1. Now even guarding e7, you're just out of stuff to do. Yeah. You're down the exchange now without enough compensation. Even f7 can be protected by rook c7. White is out of ideas. Trying to play for this. Okay. He can give back a little bit of material. Maybe like a pawn. Give back the exchange. This is a great move though. Trying to trade pieces. Can you play knight d6? Can you play this? Do you have bishop f7 check? Oh my god. Does that work? Oh. This actually looks pretty good. Bishop f7, king f7, knight takes d6 check. He has to go back to g8. Then you're picking up his rook, and you're up a pawn in an endgame. White is like clearly better. Still with attacking chances. So rook e8 is a blunder. But it's not easy for him. I guess he had to play something dramatic like knight e5 or bishop e5. Rook c7. Okay, I mentioned that earlier. This is a huge blunder. So you played rook e8, but it's not enough. This move, wow. You're just better. This isn't as good either. You could try knight d6, rook e4, bishop f7 check, king h8, and something like this, but you're probably going to lose in the long run. It looks like the one line that's good is what we talked about with rook e8. I'm sorry, bishop f7 check. Very tactical situation. You can't afford to trade pieces, though. He should be fine now. He's up clear exchange, got the rook off the board, rook e7. He can check you and play rook e5. On bishop e5, it's over. He misses this. Very obvious tactic. Check here and bishop e5, which is game over. So, rook d8. Now it's precarious, but I still think that black is probably okay. He's going to have to do like a helpmate to lose in this position. Wow, nice try. But there's still no threat. I mean, maybe you could like get your pawns up and block it up with f6 and then mate him with bishop g7, but you're going to need help. f4. No, f4 is better. The plan would be f4, g4, f5, f6, bishop g7 mate here. Now you're pinned. Better to go back to g1 probably. It's just not enough. This is also interesting, king f3, but that would block your f-pawn. You're not really making progress. I mean, it still seems like black's winning. You swindled him with a cheapo. You tempted him. Bishop takes c5, g4, and you're still losing, but he falls for this. Checkmate. Ugh. Acerbate, eat your heart out. Double swindle. You had the double blunder of this to lose. But it was interesting. You had a lot of chances there. You had the initiative, but missed the key move. Where his king gets out of the center. I mean, that was hard to see. We all expected him to play like bishop takes b2. And black was really smart to castle. And he's out. So, this was a key position. I think bishop g5 is the move. You know, that's really funny. Allowing this queen e4 that looks dangerous. Just knight c3. Okay, guys, I gotta go, but I'm gonna very quickly go over the last game with Berserker. Thanks, WJLoof, for submitting a game and for supporting the stream. Thanks to all you guys for showing up. I'm gonna be back tomorrow morning if I'm still alive. Really exhausted tonight. This is Berserker with black. What did I do? I clicked something crazy. Still have 16 viewers. I don't know what, my mouse is acting real weird. I don't know what it is. It's got like slow motion. Still learning about my weak spots. No, you're on the right track. You're on the right track. Like exercises, calculating. Principally, it looked good. Bishop g5 though, it was like imbalanced development. Leaving that weakness on b2 was a source of counterplay for black. Alright, so I said Berserker's black. Here. The harmless Rati with b3. Yeah, I mean, this is just like a totally random move by white. I think that black's setup, you're geared for playing like c5, d4, if you can get it. And so white has to be careful. I mean, white is playing essentially like a Queen's Indian with black, color reversed, with an extra move. White needs to play either g3 or e3 here. If you play CD, I guess CD E3 is possible, but that's kind of a unnecessary exchange so early. This is just a really bizarre move. It looks super passive, so C5 is absolutely strong. Berserker's going to turn it into a like white side of the Benoni if white isn't careful here. And it looks like e3. A couple of reasonable players. Eduardo Limp and Ali Habibi. Habibi are white here. You've got to try to sort of at least slow down d4, I guess. This doesn't really help our case too much. I mean, maybe if you could play d4, I don't know if I can do that here. Already, it's looking like we might have even pawn sacrifices, for crying out loud. I'm wondering if black could go d4 right away. It's probably not necessary, though. Black is already better after just a few moves. But how incisively can we play here? Yeah, man, it's in the position. You've got d4. Taking this pawn, and it starts to be like a really dangerous pawn sack by black. Because the king there on the diagonal, and possibly even the e-file, it just reminds me of a Queen's Indian. There's all sorts of sacrifice sort of ideas here. Just sacking a pawn for the initiative. Probably white would like bail with like e4 and have a bad game or something. I guess taking and playing like e3, not taking the pawn, or a3 and not taking the pawn. Black's just better. But anyway, okay, there are other ways to play. My concern here is that white could play d4. If white plays d4, it might be reverse something. Before it's too late, white's trying to play d4 himself. Bishop e2. Yeah, don't hesitate. You should nail in with d4 right away. No h5, nothing like that. Nothing like h5. You just have like positional pawn sacrifice play. Weak squares all over the place. f4. The b4 square, the d4 square, the d5 square. You have all sorts of squares for your pieces. I mean, I imagine that you don't have to sack a pawn, but it's something like h5. You mean like knight h5? Maybe knight h5, knight f4. That's a common Queen's Indian idea. But you should definitely kill him with d4 before he has a chance to play d4 and correct his position. Castles. Now you definitely got to consider d4 with white before it's too late to get to like a reasonable structure here. It's a reverse Queen's Indian. Because if he lets you play d4, you should play it. Now you're just playing d4. Better for black. It's funny, like there's two games here, and neither of these guys, Sabo Christian, when he was young, didn't play d4. But I mean, you know, he became a strong player. He was still 2376. This move is just awful for white. The other guy was a 2200. Chom allowed that in 1981. Again, now d4 white has a good game. Like a normal game, anyway. But a3, okay, a3 is not so bad. You know, now I'm not as convinced about your position. Maybe, maybe not. You know, with d4. b6 doesn't really help the d4 that much. White has to play for d4 himself at some point. Or should. He's trying to play like a hedgehog type of thing. I mean, this is still a huge weapon in the position. Playing d4. I think it's probably best to play rook e1 and bishop f1. d1's not so good. Yeah, I mean, you still have it. You finally played d4. I mean, here it's really obvious, though. He can't even take. That's why, you know, of course, his rook should be on e1, and he should play bishop f1 in the first place. White has to play e4 now. Otherwise, it's like murder immediately. Speaking of Jesse Cry and the c6 square, move 11, are you still out there? Like, if that knight gets... if the knight gets into c3, it's just murder. Not so easy, though. It's a good move, of course. It might be hard to break him down now. If he battens down the hatches. Like bishop f1, g3. And f5 is not that simple of a break for you. White has possible b4. Yeah, good move, g3. So white's position is holding. I don't think this helps you necessarily. What's the plan? f5. You have to be careful. I mean, white might have b4, queen a2, and some sort of white square stuff. But I mean, obviously, like h6 is a solid move. Maybe taking away the g5 square. This seems like a good prophylactic move. Does white have b4? It's possible we could just play a5 and sit on him. a5, shut him down, knight c4, queen c7, and we'll just reset and then slowly try to squeeze white to death. very gradually. You know, it's possible you even have like a kind of spatial crunch with b5, c4 later if white doesn't stop it. Possibly you have to wait and kill him later once you can sort of consolidate all your space, is what I'm saying. Knight e5 seems wrong. Trading pieces here, first of all, helps white to bail out. And I think secondly, like freeing his f-pawn might be a good thing. I mean, still black has got more space, probably stands better. That was a really solid move, bishop g2. You tried f5. Fluid and natural. I mean, maybe white can't hesitate. Maybe white has to play like f4 right away. But yeah, his queen is like... No, he can't. The queen is just non-existent. I wonder... How much counterplay does white have here with b4? Maybe he missed the boat, you know? Maybe he can play this. Or should play this while the getting's good. He needs to break out and get counterplay. Let's see what the computer says. It says to take first and then play b4. In any case, like, you're controlling the dynamic, he has to get counterplay, and b4 is like the only way. So take first. Obviously, yes, you might be able to sack a piece on g3. But he has to play this sooner or later, or sooner rather than later, to try to get some kind of counterplay. Trading pieces helps him a little bit, but he needs to break out. Played this. Okay, f5 looks good. Maybe he can take on f5. I'm a little concerned about f4 now. I wonder if he should bail with f5 capture. Maybe more exchanges white should attempt. You could play f4, although the position could get very blocked there. What did you do? Queen d6. Walking into knight c4. It's a disaster. Yeah, this is just a blunder. Doesn't he have knight c4? I mean, you don't want to trade any pieces for sure. And at the very minimum, you have this. You know, you've got to be better here with a massive space advantage. But it gets really blocked up after that. I'm not sure if you have better. Yeah, that's the best you got. The best a man can get. You're doing well, and I guess you have to do it. You played this. Yeah, he missed knight c4, played this. And now you sacked a piece while avoiding knight c4. It's certainly interesting. You don't have to sack a piece here. I mean, you could just retreat or something. You could also sack the knight. But I guess there, knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes. e5 is the problem. I mean, is this the problem? Knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, e5. And, well, you've got a lot of pawns. I don't know. And this king is unsafe. Whatever, queen b8. You're going to get 3 pawns for the piece, most likely. It looks like he's in trouble. I thought he was normal, yeah. But we also thought it was you, Bob. So I'm not really sure anymore. It's all become very hazy. Well, what's the win here? Bishop g7, wow. The computer thinks you should just retreat, though I agree these piece sacrifices are extremely interesting. Bishop takes, g takes, knight takes. The knight is a monster. Really? That is extremely strong. The guy's playing like a queen down with the queen on b1. Keep that in mind when you think about whether or not to play b4. Probably sooner rather than later. White is a queen down. 666. This is the story of the game. Well, the pawn on d4, which I wanted to play, and then of course the queen being out on b1. Yeah, that's beautiful. It's over. This is just totally over. That's just like feel. No need to look any further than this. There's no way the white king can survive. Yeah, this is rushing. This is rushing. d3. I like the pawn on d4. It keeps him tied up. You know, you probably shouldn't push that. Just here or something. Triplazny. There's no way that... Okay, he has knight g3. I forgot he has that. I can't believe this can survive. There's no way that white survives here. The rook e5 you had? I didn't see it either. So that's the secret move. Would you do that first? Rook e5 here? For example, I mean, again, knight g3, but now here. There's no connection. See, the pawn on d4 severs his position in half. So he has rook here, queen here, whatever, rook, queen. Yeah, I don't know. There's a slight chance white could survive. Pawn takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn. Now, don't have a knockout. That's why you play d3. Feels like white should have no chance here. Game over. Rook e5. Hard to see that. I would have played queen f4. Okay, the computer has h5, h4. I guess that's the easiest line to find. If you continue my line, I would have found it eventually, like h5, with the idea of just undermining the knight. This is probably the most straightforward. I think you would find it. Eventually white is lost. So you play d3. I guess it's not bad as well, though. You know, d3 is still decent. Just have to watch this diagonal. You're still better. He has a defense here. 92 blockade. That looks like the only obvious move. Probably not a bad idea. He doesn't find it. Yes, it's over. Slice. Slice. Wow. Good game. Okay, guys, I gotta go. It's really late. I'm gonna be back tomorrow morning. Nice attacking game, though. Good piece sacrifice. Very intuitive. But yeah, try to play d4 as early as you can to bust that kind of structure. I hate when I'm black and that sort of thing happens in the Nimzo or Queen's Indian. It's very important. Of course, when black's black, it's like a tempo down, even beyond where you were. In your game, white has like an extra move, essentially. With black, it's very dangerous. I gotta go, guys. It's late. Thanks for subscribing, for being part of the stream. You're welcome. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning with the Open Blitz challenges, streamer battle, and Simul on Sunday. Thanks, everybody, from Tarantula. Have a happy Halloween this weekend. One more stream between now and Halloween from Tarantula. Hey, don't worry, guys. I'll be magically transformed back. There was a wicked witch to turn me into a spider. Bye-bye.